Sweden is known for its high-quality sleeper trains running across its vast country, mostly to the far north. But the national operator SJ also has one much shorter route connecting the capital Stockholm with the southern city of Malmö. Join me tonight as I take Sweden's shortest night train in the comfortable First Class Deluxe sleeper cabin, complete with an en-suite shower, on an overnight journey to southern Sweden, showcasing everything you need to know, including its special breakfast option, the cozy and comfortable onboard accommodation, and the unfortunate issue that might keep me from catching this train again. Our journey starts in the heart of Stockholm at its beautiful and historic main station. With the first bit of the station opening in 1871, it has ever since served as the main station for the Swedish capital. And on the inside, the station is just as pleasant, retaining much of its old architecture despite repeated renovations to keep the station with the times. It's really a beautiful station and among my favorites, especially the main hall. There are lots of different facilities here, including plenty of shops and a whole food court with international options. A first-class sleeper ticket with SJ does also grant you access to the lounge, but it's not of much use on the Malmö route as the lounge already shuts at 18:30 and is closed on Saturdays. Below ground, you'll find even more retail outlets, including the station's large supermarket, as well as facilities such as toilets and luggage storage. Our train tonight is scheduled out of platform 11, which is also accessed via the underpass. So let's make a quick trek over there and have a look at some of the train traffic. By this time of day, most trains have already departed, with many of the last services being the sleepers heading north. This is the night train bound for Luleå, some 1,000 kilometers north from here. In general, the station was very quiet on this summer's evening, with the occasional arriving train breaking the silence, such as this Snälltåget service from Malmö, or one of the double-deckers used by Mälartåg on regional services. And as I was sat quietly waiting for the arrival of our sleeper train as the time had gone past 10 p.m. A special train carrying youth football teams from a huge tournament in Gothenburg arrived into the station with lots of laughter and music to follow, completely pausing the quiet and calm nature of the station for a moment. I've never even heard of this tournament, as football has never really been something I cared about. But apparently, the Gothia Cup over in Gothenburg is the world's largest youth football tournament, which I had no clue even existed. So it makes a lot of sense why this train is like 10 carriages long. As we got closer to our sleeper bound for Malmö's departure time, I was getting a little worried as every other night train had arrived at the platform at least half an hour before departure, and the Malmö sleeper was still nowhere to be seen. And from my research online before taking the trip, I read that it generally comes to the platform very early due to its late departure and very short overnight journey. But even after the departure of the second last sleeper of the night departing for Duvel at 22:38, the Malmö sleeper was still nowhere to be seen. Eventually, at 23:07, around 10 minutes before scheduled departure time, it finally pulled into the platform. Our train tonight features 7 carriages, 2 of which are seated carriages, 1 is a couchette, and the remaining 4 is equal amounts of first and second class sleepers. Hauling our train tonight is this RC6 locomotive built by ASEA. They are based on a design dating back to the late 60s, but our locomotive was built in 1984 and is capable of 160 km per hour. We are traveling in a WL4 first class sleeper carriage tonight, built in the early 90s in southern Sweden. they're known for their cozy vibes and great onboard comfort, which should make for a great experience tonight. So let's head on board and check out where we'll be staying for the night. And here we are, beds number 10 and 12, both of which I've booked for myself tonight. We'll take a proper look at the cabin after departure. But for now, we are departing Stockholm Central Station 3 minutes behind schedule at 23:20. Leaving Stockholm, we are offered one last glimpse of the city centre before it eventually turns into a tunnel taking us south of the city. And with our journey now well underway, let's have a look at the route map for tonight's trip. We are catching the simply named train number 1, which leaves from Stockholm, heading through the night on its 678km long journey that's scheduled to take just 7 hours and 42 minutes to reach Malmö, giving the train an average speed of 88km per hour. We are speeding out of Stockholm, passing over the Årsta bridges, taking us deeper into the suburbs, where we pass through now quiet commuter stations that will be filled with life again once the sun rises. But as we only have just over 7 hours before we'll get to Malmö and have to wake up, let's take a closer look at our sleeper cabin before heading to bed. Here we are in our cozy cabin for 2, with the bottom bunk currently featuring 2 seats in day mode. I'm going to assume the attendant has made up the top bunk to be folded down when it's bedtime. The lights in the cabin are easily controlled by this button, and every bunk also gets its own individual reading light. Next to this, you'll find the intercom allowing you to speak directly with the train crew. By the door, you'll find a pocket with the SJ magazine as well as a handy leaflet about the night train. There's also a luxurious 4 coat hooks, and importantly a climate control panel, as well as 2 power outlets, which are a bit strangely placed as you will need a really long charging cable to actually have your phone stored somewhere. Below this you'll find the keycards for the room, as the room does lock from the outside. The room is also equipped with a small table that folds away when the lower bunk is in use. My main criticism of these compartments are the limited storage space, which is really just these 2 small spaces above the corridor. Anything bigger will have to stand on the floor inside the compartment. Next to the window is this small flip-out chair, which is handy for switching clothes, and next to it you'll find a little more storage space. This is intended for hanging clothes and putting some smaller items in the shelf above. And of course, as we are on a Scandinavian train, the bin is these plastic bags that you are meant to take with you once you get off the train. And now for the best part of the cabin. These first class compartments come with their own bathroom and shower, including towels, and also a bit more strangely, it's where the complimentary water is stored next to the flying toilet paper. I had a really good shower on board. Not only was the pressure really good, the shower also got really warm, completely steaming the mirror. Just what I needed after a long day traveling. Although you should definitely shower after you're done using the toilet, as the drain, at least in my compartment, didn't really work, leaving a small swimming pool on the floor after my shower. Apart from the limited luggage space and the drain situation, these are great compartments with a cozy feeling, and hopefully the beds will be just as good as the rest. But a less great thing is we have made an unscheduled stop at Södertälje Syd and are seemingly not going anywhere anytime soon. We eventually get going again a little past midnight, running about 25 minutes late. According to the open delay data, police or an ambulance had to be called to the train, so seemingly either someone became unwell and urgently had to get off the train, or someone was being a menace and had to urgently be taken off the train. In either case, the train has a lot of padding and we should be able to make up the delay during the night. So, let's waste no time in getting the bed deployed and getting ready to sleep. And in case you roll over during your sleep or there's a hard brake application, a harness is provided to catch you. And it's a lot easier to set up when you're not trying to film it at the same time. A ladder can also be found by the coat hangers, which assist you in getting to the top bunk, although the space for this is very limited. The bed comes with a large pillow and high quality bedding, including a thick mattress topper, so this should make for a great night of sleep. And with that, it's finally time for me to try and get some sleep. Good morning, it's just past 6 AM and we are on the approach to Helsingborg. Honestly, the only reason I'm awake now is because I set an alarm, as I wanted to capture some of the scenery and also have enough time to show you all the exciting other features on board this train. I could have easily slept all the way to Malmö and probably an hour or two more after that, because these beds are really comfortable. With the carriage riding super smooth throughout the night and minimal noise, with the loudest thing just being the climate control system. On the approach to Helsingborg, our train rides along an elevated viaduct offering some great views of the Öresund Strait, separating Sweden and Denmark. Our train then continues to dive below ground to serve Helsingborg Central Station, which opened in 1991 as a modern underground station. This replaced the former above-ground terminus station and allowed trains from Malmö to Gothenburg to also serve this important city instead of taking the line that's now known as the Skåne Freight Bypass. At this point, we have just under an hour left before we are scheduled to arrive in Malmö, giving us some time to enjoy the beautiful scenery as well as set the cabin back into day mode. We still have lots left to experience on this journey, including the unique breakfast offering, and check out the rest of the accommodation offered on board, as well as talk about why I can't wholeheartedly recommend this night train. So, before we make our penultimate stop in Lund, let's go for a wander around the carriage. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get very far from our cozy sleeper carriage. As it turned out, the doors to the other carriages were seemingly locked, which I have to assume is a measure to prevent people walking into the first class sleepers during the night and making a disturbance. But it means I unfortunately can't show you the rest of the train. So instead, we'll have to do with one of these clips I got of a second class sleeper on arrival in Malmö, as well as these pictures of the couchette and seats from a previous sleeper train experience in Sweden. So, as I make my way back to the cabin after that disappointing adventure, we are now coming into our stop in Lund. Lund is a major university and research town situated just 20 minutes from Malmö and is often regarded as one of Sweden's oldest towns. We continue on from Lund, heading along the newly quad-tracked main line for the final bit of our journey. So, as our train has no dining car on board, but first class sleepers are still sold with a complimentary breakfast, SJ have done something quite clever. Instead of serving breakfast on board this short sleeper train, it's served at the Scandic Kramer Hotel, just a short walk away from Malmö Central Station. So not only is the offering much more substantial than what you'd normally get on a train, but it also means you can sleep all the way till the train arrives on the platform in Malmö. And speaking of Malmö, we are almost there, so let's start summarizing the trip. Honestly, this service is great in many ways. The product is well thought out, with the cabins being super cozy and comfortable, alongside being served a great breakfast in Malmö. Fares are definitely a bit on the higher end, with the cheapest first class sleeper rooms going for about €160. What really makes it hard for me to fully recommend this sleeper train is the short journey time and the lack of early boarding in Stockholm. Realistically, if the train only shows up around 23:10, you're not gonna get more than 7 hours of sleep after settling in on board. If you could board in Stockholm around 22:30, it'd be a much easier recommendation for me to make. And to be fair to SJ, their website does seem to suggest this should be the case, and from the reports I've read online. But as that was not my experience tonight, I can only say that I hope this is not a frequent occurrence. In the end, we pull into Malmö Central Station, feeling slightly tired but overall satisfied with the experience on board SJ's first class night train. Thank you so much for joining me on this trip today. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, as I try to post a new one every Sunday. You can also follow me over on Blue Sky at intercitysimon.com. I usually post live from my travels in real time over there, so it's a great place to get a sneak peek at what videos might be coming to the channel in the future. Thanks for watching.